Well, let's find out. Joining us on the Koga News Live line is Ashley Virtue, Director of External Relations at the National Conflict Resolution Center, the perfect person to talk about this. Ashley, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so if you're at dinner, if you're the host, can you lay down the law of what topics are off the table?
Well, it's funny. If you can't tell from our name at the National Conflict Resolution Center, we get a lot of questions about this kind of thing because it does come up during the holidays, and people are wondering how are they going to resolve conflicts with the hardest people to resolve conflicts with, which is your family. And so the conversation will come up, especially if you have family that feel like this is a conversation that's maybe been left unresolved or unfinished. And so there are some ways that you could potentially have the conversation, but maybe in a way where it's a little more constructive than destructive.
All right, so let's say that it starts to get heated. And you're there and dad and mom are going at it or dad and his brother are going at it, whatever. And it starts to get heated. How can you insert yourself in without becoming a victim?
That's a great question. First of all, I think trying to help people understand that a lot of the times when we're talking about the political issues or really any issues in conflict that are riling us up, we're coming from an emotional place. And what we need to do is try to understand how the other person kind of came to have the beliefs that they do. And what I mean by that is if you see two family members who are going at it and they're talking about a topic like, I'm just going to use an example of gun control, and one is for more gun control and one is against it. That is a very emotionally triggered topic that they can really get into. But what's underlying for both of them, the reason that they came to those beliefs is actually what needs to be addressed and talked about. And what we find when we look at this, issue is that underlying for both people usually is this issue of safety, for example. Both sides on this debate have a feeling of we want to be safe and we have opinions about how to do that. So if you can work with those family members to start talking instead about safety than maybe a particular law that's very divisive, that actually can help them move the issue forward a little bit as opposed to just staying stuck where they're talking really at each other and not with each other.
What about if things are starting to get a little heated, try to steer the conversation maybe to something very neutral? Does that work?
One thing that really works is if there is a shared value that you all have and you can steer the conversation towards that. So maybe you have two family members who they're never going to see eye to eye politically. That's okay. But we're all here. It's Thanksgiving, and we're so thankful that Grandma is out of the hospital, for example. We're all together. We have another year with her. So, yes, being able to steer the conversation towards, look, sometimes people disagree, and that's okay. That's a normal part of life. But we're here, and we need to focus on something that we really are thankful for. We have the perfect day and opportunity to do that.
And yet so many times things get so ugly online that family members stop talking to each other. So if you get those two at the dinner table, can you bring them together, or did they let it, can you sometimes just let it go too far?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we have seen a lot of this just in society generally where people are either really attacking or avoiding. And by avoiding, they're unfriending people on social media, or they're just at them all the time. And this happens in person, online, really everywhere. And neither of those solutions work. It's really through dialogue that you can maintain that relationship. So I believe, of course, at National Conflict Resolution Center, we believe that through dialogue, really any relationship can be restored. But as you said in the teaser, it does take work, and it takes both people having the motivation and sharing those same family values to understand that it might be a little bit of work. It might take a little bit of patience on my part and active listening on my part. It doesn't mean I have to agree with this person, but I do need to come to a place where I can be respectful and just show them, dignity, decency, and understanding.
Exactly. Ashley Virtue, Director of External Relations at the National Conflict Resolution Center. Thank you, Ashley.